I think people are moving back to cities of all ages, but particularly younger people. The simple reason we are social beings. We're social animals. We want to connect with people, and despite the perception that teenagers and millennials just have their noses in their devices and aren't very social, I think quite the reverse is true. They crave connection and social activity and aren't finding it in the suburbs where their parents grew up. They're not finding it in the exurbs. They're finding it in cities.
People are looking for places where they can walk to. They want to be able to walk to work, but really when they get back from work, they want to be able to walk to services, they want to go and see their friends, they want to walk to coffee shop, and cities are providing that walkable urban experience.
If we have this influx of younger people and frankly older people moving back into cities, we need to build them living rooms, because one advantage of the suburbs is you are able to have a lot more space, but when people come back in the cities, they may have a little bit less space. I think the advantage of cities is that, a lot of what we did privately behind our own walls in the suburbs, we can now do publicly. So I think a lot of these great new public spaces that we're seeing pop up all over the country are outdoor living rooms for urban inhabitants.
I'm an older guy. I grew up on, my three sons and the Brady Bunch and the Partridge Family. They all lived in the suburbs. That was the great American ideal we were supposed to strive for. Now, kids are watching, beginning with Friends and Sex and the City and now How I Met Your Mother and shows like that. They're like, they want a brew pub on the corner. They want to be able to kind of walk down the street. They want to be able to run into their friends.
I think people are integrating their lifestyle more, so they're wanting to live near where they work and near where they can have entertainment and sort of know their city completely.
One of the symptoms that things are changing are both the millennials and the baby boomers. Both want to live in the cities for many reasons. Why? One, they don't need a car. The two-car households in America are spending over 25% of their income on mobility. No wonder they don't have money for education or health or clothing or party, not even to go to dinner with the family, much less for retirement. All of a sudden, you downsize from 2 cars to 1 or from 1 to 0, and you start having money for many other things.
The amazing thing with your phone is you can now use it to work out how you're going to get around the city. You can find a bus, you can find a bike share, you can book a car, you can share a vehicle. You can do all of that right from your phone in your pocket without ever having to sit down in front of a computer. You can do that when you're on the move, you're out in a city. It gives this incredible flexibility of a transportation system that's centered around you.
Memphis is so refreshing because we're probably the last place on earth that folks thought bike lanes would really catch on, but actually it's been a liberation moment, if you will. Just as before Elvis came along, young white guys thought it was sinful to shake your pelvis. Well, before the bike lane movement came along, folks thought it was a horrible sin to get out of your car and go from point A to point B. It has liberated so many Memphians. It's amazing. It's good for our health physically, but importantly, and I really mean this, it's an emotional freedom that we haven't witnessed before.
Mayors are now talking about, let's reclaim our streets, and once you sort of get to that tipping point, all of a sudden you have more facility, more reclaimed streets, and it becomes what we call a virtuous circle. The more beautiful areas you have, the more people are attracted to it, and then the more beautiful areas are created because the powers that be then see, wow, this is what can happen when we put in parklets, when we put in protected bike lanes.
The more attractive it is, the more comfortable people are on the streets, the more people will live there. And even when it isn't at its optimal, people will still live there, and then they'll work hard to make it more attractive and make it more livable.
Well, bicycling is great in Philadelphia. Certainly a whole lot of fun. We're trying to make it that much easier to bike in Philadelphia, as well as safe at the same time. We're excited about our bike share program coming in the spring of 2015.
We're developing multimodal transportation, the ability for people to get where they need to get by the transportation mode that they use. And you have to do it for each. Some people don't have bikes and they need to walk. You need to make sure that you have that. Some people need assistance when they walk because they're people with disabilities. And you make sure that public transit, automobile, bike, and pedestrian fit into your total budget.
This is the way of saying, this is a city that cares about health, This is a city that places an emphasis on choice, on taking care of the environment. Every vehicle that's off the street means cleaner air.
The American Indians say that we need to be planning 7 generations out, and if we're smart human beings, that's what we'll do in cities.
I think we're at a really exciting point in urban history. I think for decades and decades we have been, frankly, screwing up our cities by building them for the automobile. And that's not what makes cities competitive. Cities are competitive because of the informal interactions you have with people on the street.
We're seeing the baby boomers really coming back to the city in droves. They're looking for experiences. And you can have those experiences just by stepping out of your door.
We're kind of villagers all at heart. And in some ways, living in a city makes you an urban villager, which means you can walk down to the corner store, which means you can walk over to the park, which means you can know your neighbors. It takes away that alienation and that film noir quality that we think of with cities.